The Nightingale tells the stories of two sisters separated by years and experiences, by ideals, passions, and circumstance, each embarking on her own dangerous path towards survival, love, and freedom. The two sisters that I'm referring to is Vian Rossignol Mariac and Isabel Rossignol. These are the two French sisters who resist the occupying Nazi forces during World War II. So by hiding Jewish children so they are not taken to concentration camps, and by leading the escape of Allied pilots whose planes have been shut down over France. So since their mama died, that is the mother of Vian and Isabel, he have always been at odds. Vian is a rule follower, whereas Isabel is rebellious and speaks what was all about or what was inside of her mind. When the Nazi invasion of France heightens these differences, Vian continues to follow the rules even when it means allowing a Nazi officer to leave her home and the abuse, the arrest of her Jewish neighbors. So Isabel refuses to live passively under German authority. She joins the French resistance movement and begins guiding Allied airmen out of France after their planes are shut down. So for her, she adopted the code name the Nightingale. So when the early war begins, Vian's husband Antoine is conscripted to fight for France against the attacking Germans. So Vian and her daughter Sophie try to continue normal life in Caribbean without him, imagining that he will return soon. Meanwhile, Isabel is expelled from a French girls' school and sent home to her strange father, which is Julien, so live in Paris. Julien reluctantly allows her to stay with him, but he soon changes his mind when the Germans break through the French defensive line and approach Paris. So Isabel evacuates Paris along with thousands of others and is separated from her companion in the crowd. She journeys in alone and meets her future lover, Gaetan de Bias, which is a prisoner. A prisoner who was being freed by taking by being a soldier. So Gaetan invites her to go war with him, that he agrees, and he is eager to do something meaningful with her life. They travel to Caribbean. So when the crowd of Parisian refugees reaches Caribbean, Vian locks her house because she cannot help them all. So as a result, Isabel and Gaetan find themselves locked out and sleep in Vian's yard, deciding that Isabel is not ready for war. So Gaetan leaves for the war front the next morning without her. Vian tends to Isabel, and together they learn that France has surrendered to Germany. So, let's go to the German occupation. When the invading Germans assigned a Nazi officer named Beck to live with Vian, Isabel, outraged by this arrangement, joins the French resistance movement and begins distributing anti-Nazi pamphlets around Caribbean. So Vian, however, becomes fond of Beck and agrees to give him a list of the Jews and communists to teach at their school, including her best friend Rachel. So soon, after Vian got stricken, when everyone on the list is fired from their teaching jobs. Isabel's resistance colleagues asked her to carry a letter to Paris to remain there to continue her resistance work. Then she agrees, taking the advantage of her sister's good relationship with the Nazi officer to ask for special papers that give permission to travel. She isn't in Paris long before she proposes a plan to guide a group of Allied airmen whose planes have been shut down. Across the border into Spain, she adopts the code name of the Nightingale that I said a few minutes ago. So after a successful first trip, the British government agrees to fund her future excursions, and she begins regularly leading groups of airmen out of France. Then, when Vianne is fired from her teaching job after objecting when another teacher is arrested, so the guilt is being there in Vianne's heart. With no source of income, she and Sophie spend a cold winter with no food while Beck is away. When he returns, Beck insists on caring for them and feeding them, and offer Vianne guiltily accepts. So meanwhile, Rachel and her children are forced to wear yellow stars designating them as a Jews. Isabel learns the Germans are planning to send all foreign-born Jews in France to concentration camps. She hides one family in Paris, so when back in Carview, Beck warns Rachel that she should go into hiding for a day. Rachel first tries to flee with her children, but shooting breaks out at the security checkpoint, and her daughter Sarah is being killed. Rachel and her son Ari hide in a concealed cellar under Vianne's barn for a day. So Rachel comes out for a few minutes the following afternoon, and she is being arrested. So leaving behind Ari, Vianne changes his name to Daniel, and Beck provides forged identity papers for the boy so that he won't be identified as Jewish. So when an Allied pilot is shot down over Carview, Isabel rescues the pilot and hides him under Vianne's barn. While looking for the pilot, Beck finds and shoots Isabel. Vianne kills Beck to save Isabel's life. Gaetan smuggles the wounded Isabel to safety, and they finally become lovers after years of desiring each other. It is a sacrifice. So this includes extensive loss of life. So with Beck missing, a cruel Nazi commander named von Richter moves into Vianne's home. So Vianne begins rescuing more Jewish children, forging false identity papers for them and sending them to the local Catholic orphanage, so they are not sent to the concentration camps with their parents. So this is when the painful end of war begins. Isabel, whose success as the Nightingale has infuriated the Nazis and finally captured along with her friend Micheline Babineau. Not realizing that the Nightingale, the Nazis torture her for information. To rescue her, her father, Julian, claims to be the Nightingale and surrender himself. What a tragic end. So he is shot while Isabel watches. Isabel and Micheline are first sent to one concentration camp, then to another, where they remain until they are rescued at the war's end. So when a friend of Vianne is arrested for aiding the resistance, von Richter threatens Vianne, and she begs him not to harm her children. So this cruel Nazi officer realizes that the weakness of Vianne is her children. Then she grabbed the opportunity. He raped Vianne regularly and threatening her children. It is a blackmail, guys. She becomes pregnant by him. So when the German soldiers evacuate, the husband of Vianne, Antoine, returns home. So Vianne lies, saying that the child is Antoine. Later on, you will know who is this child. So So people begin returning from concentration camps, and Vian tries to learn if Ari's parents are still alive. Ari's parents are still alive. She is Rachel, so her mother is Rachel. They are not, but he has relatives in America who want him to live with them. So Vian begs to keep him, but he is taken away. Isabel returns from the concentration camp sick and near to her death. So Gaetan visits her one last time before she dies. So, a few years later, a few chapters of the book are set in the year 1995. So, roughly 50 years after the World War II narrative. So, in that chapter, an unnamed elderly woman who later revealed herself is Vian, the sister of Isabel, who is dying of cancer, must finally come to terms with her memories of the past. So, Julian is the result of result of the cruelty of a Nazi officer, Von Richter. He is the son. So, Vian moves her to a retirement community. While she receives an invitation to an event in Paris, commemorating the system's work of people like her sister. So, like her sister Isabel. So, although she finally refuses to go, but suddenly he changes her mind and books a flight to Paris, calling Julian. Julian meets her at the airport, refusing to allow her to travel alone. Then he decides to join her mother. So together, they attend the event in Paris where Vian speaks in memory of her sister Isabel, the codename aka. Vian also sees Gaetan, who has named his daughter Isabel, and Ari the Champlain. So Ari is the son of Rachel, who has been searching for Vian ever since they were separated at the end of the war. Julian realizes that his mother has been keeping many secrets about the war from him. She agrees to tell him all the secrets except one. That is the secret of his biological father's identity.